Hello action figure fans, we are Alternate Head and we're back today with another toy review. This time, Takeyashiki Jiz Ayo Kimono 15th century Gothic field armor, silver color edition. Produced by Takeya Takayuki and Yamaguchi Takashi. This figure is made by Revoltech, part of their KT project, kind of a semi-historical, real-life fantasy mixed-in thing. You would think with the packaging this size there would be some kind of diorama in it, but my limited knowledge with import figures would lead me to expect a smaller package, everything kind of tightly packed in there. Interesting. I don't know why this is so big.
I'm liking the color scheme on the box, but I mean, I'm just a sucker for anything mint.
It's nice. So you can see on the side here, we have some promotional shots of the figure, who made it, more about the company, etc. I'm assuming the artists, maybe the producers. And then on this side panel, we have the entire thing is in Gothic script, very hard to read. Outline of the product. Armors protecting the body of knights had evolved in old battlefields. Us, the Middle Ages, there... More shots of the figure on the back. Details, poses, accessories. Lots of Japanese words. We have our Gothic knight out of the box. Very nice presentation, sculpt. How often do we get a legit suit of armor at any scale? You guys know I'm a sucker for knights. Matt, what do you think about it?
Why is he so small?
Yeah, he's pretty tiny.
He's really small.
Aren't most Japanese import figures in true scale? Like 6 inches is 6 feet?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
centimeters.
this guy would be a normal height human being. So he's not 6 inches tall. He's under 6 inches. But he still looks so small, man. It's like just a regular dude. They couldn't have like a 6'2" dude.
He'd only be like an inch taller. No, less than that.
Yeah, still. But, I mean, like he'd be like a normal Marvel Legends size figure.
Be that as it may, this is the only company producing stuff like this, so we had to bite the bullet because I have certain feelings about Revoltech joints.
Bullets? There were no bullets back then.
I don't...
Were there?
Matt, the development of full plate armor was in direct response to the advent of the firearm and its... So, included in the package, along with the knight, is a handy set of instructions, as you can see, mostly in Japanese kanji. Oh, geez. He comes with 2 sets of hands, open and gripping for the weapons.
Grippy.
A mace, a long sword,
Flops.
and a double-handed Zweihander bastard sword. Also a standing base that opens up to store some of the smaller accessories. Dude, these weapons are so well done. The mace has this bladed edge, and it looks like each one of them is put in, or it's engineered in such a way that it was put together, and you can see open spaces in between each of those sharp edges.
I gotta say, that's pretty cool. That's probably the best weapon.
You see the weapons are engineered very nicely, like most import pieces. I wish some American companies would take note. The hilts of all the weapons detach. You slide that in the hand, you put the blade on, etc. Very well made, very sturdy, very sharp. Let's take a look at the details. So we have a suit in the classical Gothical style, right?
Gothical.
One of the hallmarks is, of course, scalloped edges. And this is when full plate armor was fashionable. So almost every body part is covered. And they did a really, really good job of replicating all the overlapping armor pieces, even if it does hinder articulation, but we'll get to that in a minute. Right now we're just looking at details. Lots of fluting, riches. It's just cool to hold something like this in your hand. I mean, you can pull up images of these things, but toy companies won't tackle something like this. They'll usually do like fantasy nights or something. I hope if they continue this line, they do suits from other eras, because I do like some of the earlier plate armor looks.
Good luck if you get stabbed in the crotch.
So if you're familiar with import figures, you may know of the Revoltech joint system. Let's talk about it and discuss. So each limb or body part section is connected by a Revoltech joint. This is half of a sphere with a peg that connects to form a ball that can rotate, and then each peg goes into each limb, and so on and so forth.
So he has a joint at his neck and joint at his head.
It's a little impeded by the armor.
Yeah, they don't move very much at all. And then he has a shoulder joint, which ratchets out only about 45, 50 degrees. No, you go any farther and it just starts to pop out.
Yeah. So the thing with the Revoltech joints, it's almost worth it to disassemble for the pose you want. So because everything pops in and out so easily, you can take the limb out, move the actual joint itself in place, and then reattach the limbs. So you kind of have to think out your poses beforehand, which makes this less fun to play with. I don't know if that's the case with all Revoltech figures, but it's just a sacrifice because this is a knight and I wanted it, but it's Revoltech. So it's like made of sand. You can basically get this guy in any pose you can think of. It's almost like some kind of logic test, Rubik's Cube, SAT thing. You have to think about it, choose each joint specifically, move it into place. The torso is held to the lower body by a larger Revoltech joint. What a surprise. You can see the folds slide off. You got that big joint in there. You can remove the whole thing.
You just really have to grab onto the specific joint and move it and really hold the figure in place, or else it's not going to move or it's going to pop out.
I'd say pick a pose you want, shoot for that, see what you get in the meantime.
His legs go out really far, which is cool, but they have a hinge in the back, like near his butt.
It is a strange way.
It's kind of weird. It goes forward, like it aims forward into the leg. I've never actually seen that before.
It does duplicate the kind of motion we're used to, though. 90 degrees forward, backwards, sideways. So regular knees, you got to bend and swivel.
Yeah, it's only a single joint, but you can go way past 90, which is nice.
The feet, same thing. Swivel, forward, backwards, all around. Revoltech joints kind of function like double barbell joints in a way, but you just have to be a little bit more specific. So he can get into very wide stances, good ankle mobility. Once again, most stances you can think of, and then what's appropriate for a guy in a suit of armor. Plate armored knights are my favorite thing in the world, and Revoltech joints are very posable. This, in theory, just when you're doing it all, it's not fun or enjoyable and really frustrating, and I don't want to pick him up on anymore, which is not something you want in a toy.
Yeah, it looks nice, hanging out, figure out a good pose, leave him alone.
Literally any other company, could have tackled this, and then you pick it up and they're fun. Figma, Figure Arts, NECA again, so oh well. Let's compare the Gothic Knight to some other knight figures. So we have here one of the Silver Knights from the Four Horsemen's Mythic Legion line. You can see it retains their classic proportions that they're known for, big feet and stuff. Very fun to play with and pose. A good example of plate armor with details. You can see the chainmail underneath, rivets. Very nice. Yeah, I guess we don't really have a lot of knight action figures. See why we need some, Matt?
I agree. We don't have enough.
Like a classical suit of armor for me.
You.
Just for me.
That's why you make them, though, right?
Does anybody else like this shit? I mean, there's this for right now.
I want to see the customs, Greg. Where are the customs?
Here's the Gothic Knight with some other silver toys, because I ran out of ideas. We got RoboCop, Terminator, Norrin, Rad. So, Gothic Knight. I was looking forward to this figure because it's a suit of armor, historically. Even though I knew it was going to be Revoltech joints and frustrating. So, kind of bittersweet for me.
Failed you.
Yeah. Anyways, I give it like a C. Matt, what do you think?
F+.
All right. I want to see more stuff like this. I think other companies should tackle historical suits of armor because they are really cool. They did put a lot of work into this, production quality, but because it's Revoltech, it was always going to have their joints. So I don't know whose fault that is. Maybe mine for thinking it might be different.
Shame on you, Greg. Thanks for watching, guys. Let us know what you think of the figure and the review. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And we'll be back with another episode of Alternate Head.